Ratner, and this is Coffee with H2. And today on our show, I will be introducing you to water protectors, climate activists, Keystone Pipeline activists. We're involved with Standing Rock and with much climate activism, and they're on tour called the Roadshow of Resistance and also Trump to Earth. On our campus at Stony Brook, they're doing Roadshow of Resistance. We have Cheryl Angel, and we have Brittany Lorette and Lila June, and we'll be speaking with them about the work they're doing, their tour, and their general protectorship of the environment. So welcome, everyone. Cheryl, could you talk to us about your work and what you were involved with at Standing Rock?
Before I was a water protector, I was a pipeline fighter. Before I was a pipeline fighter, I was like everybody else in America who wasn't paying attention. So as soon as word came in our area that our water in the Ogallala Aquifer was threatened, then everybody in our tribe said, you know, that's sacred land, we need to protect it, we need to do something to stop it. So there were several meetings, everybody got together, there were prayers, there were ceremonies. We went through the whole, all the levels of what we were going to do, and everybody got to say what was going to happen. So we set up a camp. We set up teepees, and we had a website that said, "Can a teepee stop a pipeline?" And we did. Not only because we had a teepee, but because we knew that everybody's water was under attack, and we set that message out there that your water is under attack. We need to gather to protect. And we did it in ceremony. And so we set up a prayer camp, a spiritual camp. This camp we set up, this was the model for Standing Rock. So we employed, not with money, but with spirit and activism. Anyone who drank water, that was the target that we needed to reach to make them understand that water is sacred. And so we were successful. We rallied on a lot of levels, but it started with the grassroots people, all the way up to Obama, and then he denied the permit.
For Keystone.
So, for Keystone. And then Standing Rock, their river Army Corps of Engineers had changed the route of the pipeline. It was directly above Bismarck, which is a mostly non-native community. It's a mostly white community. So they were up in arms. They said, oh no, not here, not us. And so the Army Corps of Engineers moved it farther south, like a mile above the community of Cannibal, North Dakota. And they said no. But the Army Corps of Engineers didn't place any value on their needs or their distress or the safety of the river for the drinking water that was going to affect millions of people downstream. So they called for help. A call was put out, how do we start a camp? Because they had come to the same conclusion. People needed to gather in prayer. And so that's what happened. Sacred Stone was started. LaDonna Allard Brable put up her land for a camp. Their spiritual leaders, their youth, their community, the Ocheti Shakoi, they all came together in a way that they have never come together in hundreds of years. So in that was a very historical moment for all tribes, for this nation. Because when this nation was started, it was started on this area and it rolled across the entire continent. And the people at that time had no reason to gather except to defend the land. So they did gather, but it was separate because colonization was coming. And so that was the beginning of the fight for colonization, which brings us back to today. I mean, colonization is a problem. It wasn't here 500 years ago, but it's here now. We need to talk about it because there are ways to live with the environment that are tribal, that are centuries old, and it allows us to live in harmony with nature. That concept and that philosophy needs to be brought to the top now. Tribal people know how to live with lands. I need to make it very clear to all of the viewers, we are on a path of destruction. And that's not, you know, I'm not trying to scare anybody. I just want people to open up their eyes, open up their ears, stand up, protect, defend, whatever feels like, whatever it is they should be doing, that they should do it, because I will stand beside and I will pray for and I will continue on this journey to protect, to support, and to share the message that the energy that's needed is the people who have the heart and the understanding and the willingness to stand up and protect. So I am now a water protector. I started out as a pipeline fighter, but I'm a water protector and I'm a land defender. And we need everybody to protect the lands that they occupy today. And they need to identify the watershed that they're protecting. So it's a challenge for all the viewers. Label yourself as a water protector or land defender. Find out of the watershed that you live in. Say I'm a water protector and I'm protecting, the name of your watershed, and I support the local tribe whose territory I am now occupying.
We're surrounded by water in Long Island. We're on top of multi-aquifers, beautiful aquifers. The top layer is shot, but we still have wonderful water beneath, and we need to protect it. Absolutely.
You do. That's your job.
My job.
That's everybody here. You need to understand water needs to be protected because it's under attack.
Everything sacred is under attack. Women, water, because whatever is the root of life, that's what the dark wants to destroy. So that's why water and women are both under attack right now, because water is the root of life and women are also like the water in that they give life. And so you notice that the way a culture views women, it also views the earth that same way. And the way a culture views the earth, they also view the women that same way. So like, for instance, you look at the women and you say, oh, she's an object to be owned. Then they look at the earth and they say, she's an object to be owned. And they look at the earth and they say, what can she give me? And they look at the woman and say, what can she give me? So we need to see women and water in a new way. And the more the men can say, wow, this earth is sacred, what can I give to her? The more we can look at the women and say, oh, this woman is sacred, what can I give to her? And so when we start to change our perspective, then we're no longer going to be instruments of that dark spirit. We're going to be instruments of Creator spirit. But that's why the water is under attack, because that dark spirit wants to dismantle and enslave and create hierarchy. And we become its pawns when we operate from a place of fear. But if we operate from a place of respect and love and fearlessness, we become pawns of the Creator. And that's what I think they're trying to do at Standing Rock, is we're trying to be pawns of the Creator and open up our eyes, open up our hearts, open up our minds, and open up our whole being to whatever Creator wants to do through us. And sometimes we don't know what that's going to be or where it's going to take us, but we know if we make ourselves available, then we can be that force that restores health and honors the earth as a sacred woman and honors women as sacred life givers. So when you talk about water being under attack, I think it's good to place it in that larger context of the larger battle that's occurring on earth right now.
So I know you use music a lot in your work. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Well, the music, the root word is muse. And so you have to listen for the spirit. You have to listen for what the muse is trying to tell you. And the word genius, has the root word genie, which means spirit. And so the genius is not someone who's so special. Rather, they're someone who can get out of the way long enough for spirit to write through them, to sing through them, to play the guitar through them. And so that's what I've been trained to see expression, artistic expression as, is you're opening yourself up to the muse, to the genie, so that you can be that genius. You can be the one who is a hollow bone through which that healing can come. And so it's really just that process over and over of praying, And if you write a song in prayer, it's going to come out a lot different than if you write it in fear. And sometimes artists are fearful that they're not going to be famous, or they're fearful that their music isn't going to make them money, and that's writing from a place of fear. And I've done that. And the music is really low quality when you do that. But when you write from a place of wanting to be a hollow bone for the people, and in prayer, the music has a whole nother quality to it. It has a whole nother energy to it, and you get to be a messenger for someone in need. And that's a whole nother realm that the music industry has effectively stifled out. Because in the 60s, music became a force of change, and the dark spirit saw that. So what does it do? Anything that gives life, it tries to destroy. So it destroyed the music by commodifying it and turning it into celebrityism. And so that's what's going on now. We have to break out of that and remember that our music is not here to make us money. It's not here to make us famous. It's here to bring the people together in a circle. It's here to bring the people around a fire of song, a fire of poetry, a fire of hip-hop, a fire of kindness and generosity that we express through our music, so that we can bring that medicinal quality of music back to the people.
All right.
That's exquisite. So, Brittany, tell us how you came to work together.
Yeah, so I worked with the Center for Biological Diversity for about 2 years now, and so I started out working as an intern on the Stop Oil Trains campaign in San Luis Obispo. So we were working to stop Phillips 66 from bringing more oil trains through central coast of California, and we actually just won that. Their proposal got denied for like the third time after 3 years, so really excited about that. But I got a call from one of my bosses one day, and he was like, it was in November, right after the tragic results, and he was like, hey, I hope you're not really doing anything too big for January because we're planning a road show. And so the two founders, Peter Galvin and Kieran Suckling, who's actually an alumni from Stony Brook, they were inspired by these road shows that came through to their towns when they were younger, that brought music and activism to college kids especially. And so they had this big idea for the road show, and within 5 weeks, there's 2 office worths of people working on planning these roadshows, 2 separate legs going from Oakland and Seattle cross country to the inauguration. And so we were looking for musicians who would want to come along, and we had Casey Neal, who was on board from the beginning. And it was funny because I had seen some of Lila's poetry and spoken word on YouTube, and I was like, oh, I thought in my head, like, because I was doing outreach to different musicians, and I was like, oh, maybe I should contact Lila June. And I think I just got like swept up in like everything happening. And like a few weeks before the tour started, they're like, oh, Lila June's coming on tour. And I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty crazy. And then, yeah, we went on this road show, and we stopped in 16 different cities. We were on the southern leg. On the central leg, there is Makana, who's a slack key guitarist from Hawaii, and Dana Lyons, who's an old-time activist, singer, songwriter. And we met at the inauguration. That's actually where I met Cheryl. I went
that
with Lila.
sad day.
Yeah, it was not a happy day, but it was happy because I met Cheryl. But yeah, it was a really.
But don't you just interrupt for a minute? I mean, I know it's not the path that we want in terms of environmental protections and issues with women, but on the other hand, it seems to me a lot of people are waking up. Where I live, in the community I live, it's a very, very sleepy place. And suddenly everybody's worried, and I'm getting phone calls, what can I do? All the time. Where do I go? Who do I talk to? So that's the, yes. But the upside is people getting a little bit scared and troubled that, someone else is going to fix this. They now feel they have to become engaged. So not to interrupt you.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, and that's what we want to do across the country, and it's been really beautiful going to all these different cities, and we're in St. Augustine in Florida, and 1,200 people came out, and it was such a beautiful, for that many people, it felt so intimate because everybody was there together within their local community. And it provides people this opportunity to gather, and hearing Cheryl and Lila speak and play and perform is always really powerful. And KC2, and we have local partners coming into table, and we have been getting some of the local indigenous people to the areas to come out and open the events.
And they'll be coming today.
Yeah. And yeah, we have 2 folks from the Shinnecock Nation coming out to do a green corn planting dance and give people a little insight to, the native folks on Long Island, because it's not just the Shinnecock Nation. There are several nations and tribes on the island that have been stifled.
Yes.
So I'm really excited to have them with us. And yeah, I think it's just important for everybody to come together and share their fears, but also to gather in hope and to find ways to plug in, because I'm from Long Island and I grew up and not many people know how to plug in, or, they look at me now and they're like, oh, well, I feel like protests aren't what I feel comfortable with. And it's like, there's a lot of ways to resist. So, writing a song or hugging your neighbor or, getting out there, just seeing that like a protest doesn't mean you have to get shot with a beanbag or something, but just you have to be awake and you have to
Right.
take action somehow, and even the smallest action can turn into
Right.
the biggest, act of resistance. So
Yeah, I remember there was I went to an event up in Albany. It was a anti-fracking event, and you think it's going to be something angry or hostile. It was the total opposite. It was the most loving, peaceful, spiritual thing I had ever felt. I remember walking down the sea of people, and there's singing, and there's beautiful art signs, and everyone's talking to everyone. And I lost the people I'd come with, and I said to this one man, "Oh, I lost my friends." He said, "Everyone here is your friend." And he really, you don't need to find those specific people. Mm-hmm. We're all here together, and it was just really, really amazing. Pete Seeger was there, and he was singing, and just all of these folks were there. It was just very, very beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I think for people who don't go, they don't realize. They think it's this angry thing. People are yelling and screaming and fighting, and it seems dangerous in some way. In my experience, and I've been to many now, it's actually very peaceful and loving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's
and inspiring.
Yeah, we have to put our bodies where our values are, and if we can talk about, especially people with more privilege than others, we have to make sure we're out there. And sometimes it can get scary being on the front line, but
sure.
It's important that we're there. And I encourage everybody to go out and plug in some way, even if it's sending a postcard today, and then maybe in a week you go to a march, one of the climate marches. It's just little things like that building up to it, and we all need to take a stand. It's time. There's no time to be wasting in grief anymore.
Yes, and not to say, I know there was difficulties at Standing Rock, and people do get arrested, and there was some harm to people's bodies, and so not to belittle that, I know.
Well, that spiritual quality that you're talking about and that love in that group, that's the energy that everybody has. Because that space that we hold when we gather that many people, that's the spiritual strength, and that's the resolve of that temporary community that's actually standing up to stop fracking. So
Which worked in the state. It was amazing.
Yeah. And it works because that energy that you hold, that energy, that space, that's what's needed to spread across the land, And so Standing Rock was a community, a spiritual community. It was based in its foundation was spiritual. That's how it was set up to be. And when people came, we rejoiced. We accepted them with smiles on our face, and we were so happy because people were coming. And,
thousands of people were there.
Thousands of people were coming, and they were bringing their skills. And so that community that was created is almost like the role model of what activism is, what non-violent direct action is, what peaceful, prayerful, powerful, non-violent direct action is. And then we have civil disobedience. A lot of people today who have never been to a civil disobedient action or a direct action or even a peaceful, powerful, prayerful walk, people who haven't experienced that, they totally missed out on the whole effect of the action that happened at Standing Rock. But that doesn't mean that they're left out now, because everybody that was there that felt it and who experienced it, they carry it now. They carry it, and now that everybody's gone from that area, they've been actively deployed. So we're actively deployed. This is our deployment. We're moving forward, and we're sharing the message of what Standing Rock was at that time, and we're continuing that message because it's not over. It's not over. That was just phase 1. We are like in phase 2, and there are many phases depending upon the amount of people that are gathered, and this is growing with each and every student, with each and every grandparent, with each and every family, because it takes family unity to go. If you go by yourself the first time and you love it, take your family the next time, because we need to share this stance that we're taking and the experience of that spirituality and power that you felt. We need to share that with our family, because our children need to know what peace looks like, what power looks like, what community feels like. That's what they need, because it allows them to grow. So not only is it just us, but it's our children and it's our relatives, because this movement is just starting. And this is just year 2, you know? And if we're going to save all of the water for the future of our children, it's going to grow and it's going to multiply every single year. So we need this movement. We need all the people to wake up, because this is just year 2, you know? And we've got to clean up this planet. You know, so there's lots of work involved. And me, I don't want to face off with the fossil fuel industry. I want to give them an out. Like, let's give them an out, because they are our family. You know, those police officers that were standing with their shields on the other side, they weren't our enemy. It's a system that was the enemy. So that's how I was able to stand on the front line and look at them and not have hate or fear in my heart. And when you have no hate and no fear, you can stand, because you're looking right at your own relative like this. And I went to the front line to pray and to remind them that we're in ceremony here, and we're not here to harm anybody. We're here to get you to be a water protector on our side. You know, so the revolution is moving, and it's about recognizing your relative and getting them to stand up and defend the water, and to not only that, but like Lila said, protect everything else that's under attack. Because women, we have been under attack for 500 years, and nobody's gotten up. Individuals have gotten up at different times, and they've been recognized for standing up to make something right that was bad for women. And so we need to do that in our own homes. Raise our daughters to be peaceful and loving and to defend themselves. Raise men to honor women. Raise men to protect children. You know, not look at them as a resource, not look at something that they can have, but something that they can honor. You know, so honor women, honor the earth, honor the water, because we're all sacred.
Is there something right now, like that's the next phase? Would you say it's this climate march that's coming up in a week? Or do we not know yet? I mean, Standing Rock sort of emerged. I don't know if there was a plan for thousands of people in all these different tribes, but is there something in mind that's sort of on the agenda, or is it a more general, we want everyone to wake up and things will be happening in different places?
I think that continuing to pray, our ancestors, and not just Native American ancestors, but European, African, Asian, Australian, our ancestors used to spend entire sets of days praying. Like we have Sundance, you know, and Sundance you spend 4 days dancing and fasting. And one might say, oh, what are they doing? They're not doing anything. They're not getting any voters registered. They're not, you know, writing any op-eds in the paper. They're not, you know, starting any nonprofits or getting anything on the endangered species list. But we were doing a lot. When we pray, when we dance, when we fast, when we look at that sacred tree in the arbor, and we think about all the reasons that we're here, we become the living, breathing dream that we want. And we become the beauty that we are seeking to plant And so instead of tearing down, you're actually being what we want. And so I think, you know, when we talk about Standing Rock, and those youth were running from North Dakota to Washington, D.C. in prayer for their water, they didn't know they were going to start a global movement, you know? And they didn't know that they were going to change the world forever. But they said, you know, we need to pray. We need to. They didn't have an agenda saying, okay, this is going to be what's going to happen,
Right.
and 5,000 people are going to come from around the world and support us necessarily. But they did know one thing, and that was that we need to pray. And so I told my elders I want to have a march on Washington for the water, and they said, Lila, you don't need to march, you need to pray. And I was like, what? You know, it just seems so inefficient or not doing anything. But now I see what they're saying. Mm-hmm. They're saying that when we pray, and I know prayer has become kind of a negative thing for a lot of people because they've been to places that were supposedly spiritual, but we're really exploiting them or whatever. Mm-hmm. So prayer has this, you know, doesn't always mean the same thing to other people that it means to me. But what I mean by prayer is that we ask Creator for help, whatever that might look like. Maybe you're fasting, maybe you're taking a walk in the woods, maybe you're offering a little bit of white cornmeal on the ground at dawn. Who knows what you're doing, but if you can make the time to pray and ask for help, then you are enabling and allowing Creator to come into our lives. Because Creator honors our free will. Creator only comes if we allow Him, her to come. The dark doesn't honor our free will. It comes in whether we ask or not, whether we say no or not. It does whatever it wants. But Creator respects us, and Creator says, I'll come if you want me to. And so when we pray, we're saying we want you to come through us, through our words, through our actions, through our songs, through whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I can't emphasize enough that I think in this time, prayer is a lot more efficient than you might think it is. And prayer is the reason Standing Rock happened. It started with the sacred fire, with the sacred prayer.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. I just want to interject for 1 second. I know you're going to say something amazing, but as someone who grew up in the 60s, you know, I was turned off by the activism as a child because it was so angry, and people got really burnt out. And we were talking about this before. I think that you need this. It really brings a whole different level, and you get tired as a protector. I mean, it's exhausting. You're putting a lot of energy out. At least that's what I observed in my life, watching my parents who were activists and their friends. Mm-hmm. And then that tiredness could turn to, you know, hostility, and they would get angry with each other. But this brings a love to it and something beside ourselves, I guess. But I don't want to interrupt you. So.
No, that's good. You're right on point.
Yeah, we need this desperately. And the only thing my own little personal thing is, you know, how do we? I mean, I guess each person has to find their own prayer, right? Not everyone will necessarily have an indigenous experience. Maybe it's whatever. But I mean, because I see you as an extremely spiritual person, and I follow your lead. So I guess, but not everyone's going to have that path. There's different paths in.
Yeah. There. You were mentioning like the activism that your parents showed you and taught you, and they lived it in the 60s. And yeah, there was anger, you know, and this is what I see. When I went to Standing Rock, and when I even hear stories and even listen to music, there are activists and there are spiritualists. I've come to know that I'm a spiritual activist.
Putting the two together.
Yes. So when the activists become spiritual,
yes,
and when the spiritualists become activists, then look what we have. We have the best of both.
Beautiful.
So when we have the best of both, we can actually take that energy and we can use ceremony, we can use prayer, we can use direct action, we can use civil disobedience, and we can move forward our agenda. So that was my answer to the question, what's next?
Yeah.
We need all the activists to become spiritual. We need all the spirituals to become active.
Beautiful.
Because that unity, that solidarity, it allows not only miracles to happen, but it generates and it gathers all of this energy and this knowledge and this power and this strength. And it holds it in this protective space. And from there are the answers, from within that unity.
Beautiful.
And so when I look at somebody, I see them as the answer. and I see their energy, and I see the possibility. You know, so I'm happy. I'm rejuvenated. I'm not angry. You know, I'm not tired. There are days when I see so much violence that, yes, I am tired, but it makes me want to reach out further. It makes me want to spread the message farther.
Yes.
It makes my resolve stronger.
Yes.
You know, because as powerful as they are, it's how powerful we have to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, we have to wrap this part of our show up. We'll be doing more with music and talk back with some young folks from my class. So thank you very much. We're not done. Stay with us. This is Heidi with Coffee with H2, Heidi Hutner, and we'll be doing more. So stick with us. Thanks so much.